Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have some terrifying Dogman, Sasquatch, and, well, I really don't know. But before we get into these encounters, I have a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. All of those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook version, written by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny, is available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. The links to those are in the description below. Now, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, shall we? Today's first encounter. My friend Will lives off this highway, somewhat in the deep woods. It really doesn't take much time to get to his house, but there's pretty thick woods surrounding his house and his neighborhood. We were driving home from his house at around 11 at night, and my friends in the front seat saw this strange creature crossing the road. They said it had a capybara human-like face, a very long neck, no tail or ears. It walked like an ape. It looked like a human trying to walk on all fours. They also said that it had no real defining features and seemed to be disproportionate and unnatural looking in general, and that it had human-like legs. They did not see the feet. It didn't have much fur, but the fur that was there was kind of like a short-haired dog. It had a large hunchback, like it could stand up and walk normally at any second. My friend Will also actually saw a creature of the same description a few years ago. I've been trying to find an animal that it might be, but my friends keep saying that's not it. I've looked into some popular cryptids like the Wendigo, crawlers, but nothing seems to fit. It had animal features, but also some very human-like features. If anyone can offer any info, I'd really appreciate it. Well, it's not a Wendigo, because a Wendigo is Native American lore, and they don't look like that. Nor do they have antlers and look like a deer. That is a creepypasta. My guess? Possibly some sort of reptilian freaking creature of nature. Not really sure. See, I told you I didn't know when I started this video. Today's second encounter. So I've been debating on if I should share this or not. But I'm starting to get really freaked out and figured it couldn't hurt to ask for some sort of help. Now I want to warn you that my English is not first language. I'm French-Canadian, but moved to the U.S. about 3 years ago, so if my grammar or spelling is off, I'm sorry. So I live in pretty rural area in Michigan, close to the lake. And I'm currently living alone. Both my parents are currently in Canada, taking care of my great-uncle, who is in his late 80s. And they have been gone for a month or so, and probably won't be back until December. I'm 19 or so and old enough to be alone, but some really odd things have happened in the last 2 weeks. So it started back in September when my 15-year-old cat, Ginger Snap, went missing. At first I figured she'd passed away since she was very old and had a few health problems already. And a few days later I found her body completely torn to shreds on the back porch. I mean, she was severely mutilated to the point where I threw up while sobbing hysterically. I came to the conclusion that it must have been a bird of prey, since we have big owls and hawks where I live. A few days passed by, and on October 4th, something odd also happened. I was watching TV at around 11 p.m., and I kept hearing a really fast knocking sound. It would come in sets of 5 and then stop for a second and restart. I ended up going outside to investigate, and I couldn't see anyone, but there was a really freaking horrible smell. Then what happened last night? So I woke up at around 3 in the morning, which happens sometimes if I had a really messed up dream. I walked down the hall to get a drink and probably watch some TV. As I got to the fridge, which is right next to the back porch door, I heard someone walking around. I froze up, coming and stay completely still. I looked over to the door and saw a huge shadow. It was kind of crouched on its hands. I don't really think it saw me, but it looked human. It didn't move for a whole 3 minutes before the shadow moved in a blink of an eye, and it was gone. I ran back to my room and called the cops. When they got there, they couldn't find anything, but told me that no once it was a person, since our back porch is suspended about 15 feet in the air, and there was no ladder. I'm super freaked out now, especially since I'm completely alone up here. I don't know much about the supernatural outside of the standard werewolf, vampire, so any tips would be deeply appreciated. Quick interjection. Well, you saw something, my friend, and if your back porch is suspended 15 feet off of the ground, something jumped onto your porch and proceeded to walk around on your porch. And honestly, if you don't think it saw you, you probably are wrong, because 85 to 90% chance that it did see you, my friend. Just stay safe. Today's third part of the upload. For a bit of context, I live in northwestern Georgia, United States. I'm in the middle of nowhere, on a weird off-on its own cul-de-sac with houses on only one side and the woods all around it. Other than the cul-de-sac houses are all over 100 yards away from each other. The woods are thick and begin about 30 feet away from my house. The area is not known to have any bear. Those are far further north. No wolves or coy wolves, and our coyotes are rather small and very shy, as are the deer. I've even contacted our local DFW, and they said that there is nothing bigger than coyotes and deer out here. I take the dogs out into the yard to pee about 2 or 3 times after dark. I put them on a split leash and normally wander around the yard for a bit to let them find a spot. But that has come to an end. I don't dare step off the patio now. For the past few weeks, my dogs have been acting really odd when it comes to going out at night. They want to go out front, but since my landlord doesn't want me to let them ruin the front lawn, I have to drag them to the back door. And they refuse to step out most times, especially my younger dog. They want to stay close to the house and are always very alert. They will lunge towards the woods at random, starting to bark like crazy. I'd normally call this off as wildlife, but it's been getting very weird. And normally, if there's something like a rabbit, they are very easily shushed and redirected. I've heard whatever it is walking right at the edge of the woods. It doesn't have a typical 4-beat walk of a 4-legged animal. And it's not scared of my dogs. I can hear it's heavy by the way the leaves crunch and the branches break. It's not scared of dogs or me shouting, and it doesn't leave. If it's there at 9 p.m., it'll be there at midnight, and it'll be there at 2 a.m., always at the edge of the woods. And I can feel a difference myself as well, even when I go out alone. I had to grab a patio chair the other day, for example. It's almost like I can feel when it's there. I normally am very relaxed in my yard, especially at night, but I'll get that back shuddering, heart racing, get in feeling. My dogs will even go crazy when inside, seemingly at random, standing at the windows barking out the woods. I've been out there during the day looking for strange things like fur scraps, scat, stag, or claw marks. Nothing turned up. Not even footsteps. Thought it would be a person, perhaps. I'm trying real hard to find a reasonable excuse for what may have happened, but I keep running into dead ends. I'm an immigrant. I'm not too knowledgeable on the local stuff, folklore, or whatever you want to call it. But holy hell, this scares the life out of me. So I was wondering if anyone could give me some insight, whatever it is. How can I appease it or make it leave me alone? Or is there anything else I can do? Update, I got a glimpse of what has been in my woods and I'm not feeling any better about it. Alright, so I want to start off with an apology for how long it's been. I've had a lot of stuff going on and it's been keeping me preoccupied. A lot of people gave me advice on getting motion lights and trail cams, but I really can't afford any. I did start bringing a flashlight though. For about a month or so, nothing besides the usuals happened. Then one night as I was taking the dogs out, I was standing on the edge of the patio, and while my senior dog was pulling to go back inside, I was trying to coax him onto the grass. My puppy suddenly lunged forward and was really freaked out. When I looked up, I saw it, or at least I'm 99% sure that what I saw was it, honestly. Hoping it's not, because hell no, was not even close to my reaction. It was standing by one of the big trees at the edge of the woods, sort of half hidden behind it. I used to hear it behind my house, mostly, in a thicket on the left, best cover and best place to look from. It really didn't remind me of a Bigfoot all that much, at least from what I can imagine they'd look like. Sort of like a gorilla person, right? I tried looking further into it and I stumbled upon the Alabama white thing. It stood about 6 feet tall when I compared it to the branches on the trees. I tend to do a lot of work on those two trees it was standing at. It seemed to have light-colored fur or hair. It was bipedal, but the legs were more like an animal's anatomy. It had fairly long arms in comparison to its body. I didn't really see a face, but if I had to guess, I wouldn't say it was flat, nor very snouty. I didn't see a tail, but it wasn't in clear view. This is a description of me laying my eyes on the thing for like a few seconds max, as I hurried and dragged my dogs back inside. Needless to say, I didn't mind one bit that they had accidents that night, and I said screw it and started going out front. I would cross the road with them, but there's woods over there as well, so I just brought a bucket of water to pour over the pea spots. But speaking of the woods across the road, a week or so after I started going out front, it seemed to have caught up onto that now. I either hear it coming from those woods, at least there's more of a distance between us, or the woods in the back part. About a week or two ago, I had a friend over for the night because their car broke down near me. It was Sunday, so it couldn't be towed until the next day. At around 1 a.m, they wanted to go get some beers, and my dogs were being annoying because they didn't get to play that day. So we decided to make a 20-minute walk to the small gas station to grab our beer. But we kept hearing rustling in the woods like something was following us. And as usual with this thing, the dogs didn't seem to know whether to lunge or run. But when we encountered animals, it's all excitement and wanting to go check it out. Nothing like a flight battle they were having. We had somebody come pick us up at the gas station and drop us off back home. I've also overheard a conversation about my neighbor's dog that has passed. I've seen her a couple times because she used to walk off from her tie-out. She was a nice dog, a husky Malamute mix, I believe. Why would anyone have one of those in Georgia is beyond me, but that's beside the point. Apparently, they let her go out to pee at night, and she didn't come back. The following morning, they went looking for her and found her with broken neck, but nothing else. I'm not sure how true it is, but it does frighten me for my own dogs. And somebody about a 10-minute walk out used to have horses on their property, but apparently had to move them because they began breaking out. So that's where I'm at now. My dogs are staying leashed 24/7. I've always had a flashlight handy, and I'm looking into my self-defense options as an immigrant. I just hope things don't get any worse. Today's final part of the upload. My first encounter was in the woods by Myersdale, PA. My two friends and I were playing paintball. It got dark. It was about 10:30 at night in the middle of summer, I believe 2013. We were walking through a field and one of my friends was just making random noises. We told him to knock it off, and we're laughing and just basic kid stuff. Suddenly, I would say 30 feet behind us, we heard a howl that ended in this blood-curdling scream. We dropped all our gear. I'm talking several $100s worth of paintball gear. And ran. I've never ran this much in my life. We kept running all the way till we got out of the field and back onto the street. One of my friends and I returned the next day to retrieve the gear, and we heard wood knocks that came from two separate directions. My second encounter happened in the summer of 2015, at night at Jockey Hollow Boat Launch. My parents and I were night fishing. We were the only ones there. I walked to the part of the parking lot where the road enters when all of a sudden this deer jumped down and slammed right into the concrete and immediately got up and ran off. I feel uneasy as I was such a strange random thing, so I walked back to my parents on the other side of the parking lot. About 10 minutes go by when all of a sudden we hear what sounds like a chimpanzee, but much darker. Like ooh-ah, 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 that chimps do, but with much more snorting mixed in it, and very deep. Where it was, on the other side of the parking lot, there's a line of thick brush. My father, who had hunted over 40 years, was even on edge. He started the car and pointed the lights in the direction, but it was too far back to see anything. Where this thing had to have been was at the water, which was about 4 to 5 feet deep at the time. After that, it stopped. About another 20 minutes go by, and right in front of me in the water lands a rock that had to be at least the size of a volleyball. I had a lantern on the ground, so I only caught a glimpse of it as it hit, but I knew it was a large splash. I knew it was a rock. After that, we left. My final encounter was again outside of Myersdale, PA. My friend and I were hunting on his aunt's property. After we parked, we started up a hill that gets steep. Where the woods starts, we split up. He goes off to the left, and I went all the way to the top of the hill to the deer stand that's in the woods about 40 yards from the field. This was our third day here. As I was climbing up the deer stand, I heard this distinct whoop. I would estimate it 100 yards ahead of me. I decided I didn't want to be a sitting duck in a deer stand, so I climbed down and went back into the field where I sat. Once the sun began going down, I decided to walk back down the hill. Now outside of the woods was pitch black, but there was still some light in the field. Once I got to the bottom where the wood's carved, I heard footsteps. I looked up and saw a silhouette walking on the other side of the brush. I figured it was my friend who decided to walk up and meet up, since it was getting dark. I said, "Hey, did you see any deer?" All of a sudden, this thing tore into the woods and made its way up the hill. I know this was no person, as it was pitch black, and the woods, there was so much debris, there was no way a person could move at the speed this thing was. I clearly could make out bipedal footsteps. My friend came out of the woods about 60 yards away. I saw his light before I saw him. He said he had heard someone walking around, and also questioned me about that whoop, as he thought it was me who had did it. It was then that I mentioned Bigfoot or other cryptids to him. Damn it, I've never thought about all the weird stuff I heard up there until you mentioned it. Apparently, he's heard things up there as well. Needless to say, we don't go hunting up there anymore. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed today's upload. Wow, I don't know what's going on today. I'm like sitting here, I was narrating and almost zonking off as I was reading. My eyes are just wicked heavy today. Sorry about that. I'm gonna try to take a little nap. I'd really like to do some more historic newspaper articles. So hopefully after I take a nap I can get a couple of those articles to you guys. So my throat's messed up too today. Wow, sorry. I really shouldn't have been recorded. I suck today. Anyway, have a great day guys, and thank you.